If there are damages or if something is missing from your delivery, please notify your supplier within 24 hours. Even though metal sales materials are durable, they should be handled carefully to prevent bending the panels and scratches to the finish. If possible, keep bundles crated until they've been properly stored. If you open a bundle, recrate it before lifting it. When lifting bundles, lift from its center. Select a dry, well-ventilated place to store your metal sales panels, one that's away from heavy traffic if possible. Elevate one end of each bundle at least 2 feet so any moisture that accumulated in transit will run off. Make sure air can circulate around the bundles to avoid moisture buildup. Your roofing materials should not be stored directly on the ground. When unpacking the panels, some of the components may have a factory-applied peel-off plastic coating to protect the painted finish during shipping. Remove this protective coating before exposing the components to direct sunlight as you prepare for installation. To keep the finish crisp, avoid sliding panels or components across one another. The most important part of any construction project is safety. Installing a metal roof system is dangerous, and you should be extremely careful. Wearing personal protective gear and following OSHA guidelines is required. Use Kevlar-coated gloves to reduce the risk of abrasions and cuts when handling metal sales system components. Approved safety glasses are recommended to guard against flying debris. For additional protection, wear a hard hat, protective clothing, and a harness. Please refer to the installation guide or contact your representative for more information regarding handling and safety issues. When cutting the panels and flashings in the field, we recommend using tin snips or a nibbler-type electric tool. Be sure to wear protective eye goggles when cutting a metal sales panel. Before you begin installing your roof system, make sure the substructure is properly aligned and uniform to avoid panel distortion. First, always install panels against the prevailing wind. You'll want to make sure that your panels are always square and plumb, so the entire row will be straight and properly aligned. If you're working in an area that is regularly subjected to high winds, you'll need to space the fasteners closer together. Finally, the siphon groove side of panels must be overlapped with the non-siphon groove side of the adjacent panel. Panels installed during the post-frame panel installation may be installed either from left to right or right to left, always from eave to peak. Also, remember that all eave moldings, gutter, and valley flashings must be installed before panel installation can begin. Once you're ready, we'll begin. We'll start by installing the box gutter. First, you'll install the gutter end caps using tube sealant and pop rivets. Next, install the box gutter flashing back against the substrate. To hold the box gutter flashing in place, fasten to the substrate with pancake head wood screws 4 feet on center. Next, position the universal gutter downspout straps along every 3 feet of gutter length. Secure the strap to the box gutter using 1 pop rivet per strap. Fasten the strap to the substrate using pancake head wood screws. Before installing panels, all valley flashings have to be installed. We'll start by positioning the valley flashing on the roof and attaching it to the substrate using pancake head wood screws. Make sure that you position the wood screws so that they will be covered by the classic rib panel when it's installed. If your roof requires more than 1 valley flashing, you'll want to work from the eave to the peak, overlapping the flashings by at least 2 inches with 2 beads of tube sealant. If your roof has chimneys, skylights, or other unique features that require additional water diversion, field form and install the proper cricket flashing or water diverter at the high side of these features. Now, field form and install the cricket around the chimney. Now we're going to install the inside closures. Begin by applying a row of tape sealant across the top leg of the gutter flashing along the width of the building. Remove the paper backing from the tape sealant, aligning and placing the inside closures over the tape sealant. Be careful to square them to the building. Keeping them square is important because the inside closures will control the alignment of all panels we install. Finally, apply a row of tape sealant across the top of the inside closure. We're now ready to install the first panel. First, we'll set up the panel over the inside closure and allow for proper overhang. Make sure that the panel is square to the eave and the rake. Now, fasten through the panel, closure, sealants, and gutter flashing into the decking using 5 wood screws. Once you've secured the panel at the gutter, repeat your fastening pattern at all the panel support locations based on your local building code. And congratulations! You just installed your very first panel. Now you're ready to install the second panel. You'll want to start by placing the lapping seam of the second panel on top of the previously installed panel so that the ends are flush at the gutter. Now, fasten through the panel, closure, sealants, and gutter flashing into the decking using 5 wood screws. Once you've secured the panel at the gutter, repeat your fastening pattern at all the panel support locations according to local building code requirements. Then install stitch screws 12 inches on center along the side lap. For roofs with hips and valleys, field cutting of panels will be required for proper installation. Before applying tape sealant, you'll need to determine an appropriate sealant location. First, apply a row of tape sealant to the flat pan of the classic rib panel. Then position the rake against the wall and onto the tape sealant. Attach the rake flashing to the substrate with wood screws all the way through the rake flashing, tape sealant, panel, and into the substrate at 12 inches on center. Attach the rake flashing to the wall panel with the appropriate fastener at 12 inches on center. If your roof requires more than one rake flashing, work from the eave to the peak and overlap the flashings at least 2 inches with 2 beads of tube sealant, fastening with pop rivets at 2.5 inches on center. First, apply a row of tape sealant across each panel along the width of the end wall, about 2 inches from the end of the panel. Next, remove the paper backing from the tape sealant. Now, align and place the outside closures over the tape sealant, making sure to square them to the wall. Apply a row of tape sealant across the top of the outside closures. Position the end wall flashing against the wall and over the outside closures and tape sealant. Attach the end wall flashing to the panels with stitch screws through the end wall flashing, tape sealant, closure, and into the major rib of the classic rib panel at 9 inches on center. Before you apply tape sealant, determine the appropriate sealant location. Then apply a row of tape sealant to the flat pan of the classic rib panel and across the top leg of the end wall flashing where the 2 flashings will lap. Now, position the Rakewall against the wall and onto the tape sealant, attaching the Rakewall flashing to the substrate using wood screws completely through the Rakewall flashing, tape sealant, panel, and into the substrate at 12 inches on center. To install the peak condition, apply a row of tape sealant across each panel along the width of the peak condition about 2 inches from the end of the panel. Now, remove the paper backing from the tape sealant and align and place the outside closures over the tape sealant. You'll want to be careful as you square them to the building for proper alignment. Next, apply a row of tape sealant across the top of the outside closures. Position the peak flashing against the wall and over the outside closures and tape sealant. Then attach the peak flashing to the panels using stitch screws all the way through the flashing, tape sealant, closure and into the major rib of the panel at least 9 inches on center. Attach the peak flashing to the wall with the appropriate fastener at 12 inches on center. To flash the vent pipe, use a rubber roof jack or similar pipe flashing. Apply tape sealant between the panel and the base of the rubber roof jack. Attach the base of the rubber roof jack to the panel using wood screws. Along the top where the boot meets the pipe, apply a continuous bead of tube sealant. If the through pipe interferes with a panel rib, you may need to relocate the through pipe. Before applying a new metal roof to an existing asphalt shingle roof, first check the existing roof deck for any damaged areas. Those areas must be replaced with new materials. Metal roofing requires a flat and uniform substrate. Inconsistencies in the roof substrate aren't visually aesthetic and won't provide the maximum performance to your metal roof, so you'll need to install wood furring strips at all low or high spots in the roof substrate. If you need to make the substrate uniform, begin by placing the wood furring strips around the roof perimeter. Place a row of strips on both sides of the ridge and along any hip and valley conditions. To provide an attachment anchor for your panels, place the rows of strips within the field of the roof, spaced according to local building codes. Shims can be used under wood furring strips to raise lower areas to provide a flat, uniform surface. Once the substrate is uniform and you're ready to install the metal sales roof, follow the same instructions for new installation outlined earlier in the video. Installing a metal sales roof system is a fairly clean process, so after the work is done, there's not much left to do. Check the panel surfaces and flashings for any loose debris and metal shavings. Any dirt may be washed off with a mild detergent and water using a soft cloth.